don't hesitate to, shoot us a question. We're going to make sure that, towards the end of the webinar, we take some time and answer everybody's question, make sure that they have a good understanding of what we're talking about, and, making sure that any questions that you have coming into this webinar that we're answering for you.
Yeah.
We'll take a sip at the same time. We're in sync, people. Cool. Just give it another minute. We have more people trickling in. Then in a second, we'll have Josh kick us off, and then we'll just get it right into it.
What's up, Donovan? How you doing?
Yeah, and just as I was saying, just a minute ago, for some of the new people that joined in, as we're going through the presentation, if you have any questions about lines of credit, around business credit, around real estate investing in general, don't hesitate to, click that chat box, shoot us some questions. We're going to make sure towards the end of the webinar, we're spending some time answering your questions for you.
I opened it up, so now they can just join in, which is good.
Cool. So we'll give it one more minute, and then Josh, if you're good, we'll let you take it away, and then we'll get rocking.
Say when. I'm good.
You got it.
All right.
All right, why don't we, Josh, let's let you take it away. You got to unmute him.
I think he is good. Josh, say something so we can, oh, there you go, mute it up again.
All right. Good evening, everybody. You hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you.
We got you.
All right, cool. Excuse me. I didn't make it into my house, so I just parked up. But this is I'm heading that way. We're okay. We're okay. But I see a lot of familiar faces on the webinar today. Some people from, out of this state and all across the country. So I'm really excited about this. I've never really had the opportunity to promote a webinar before, but what better way to start than with MB Capital Solutions. I'm happy to, have these guys, Eric and Nick, as preferred partners of Philadelphia Real Producers Magazine. We've known each other a few years now, and, sometimes it just takes time to, find a way to collaborate, and this is no better way to do it. So I'm really happy to be able to help facilitate this today. MB Capital Solutions is my go-to resource for this type of creative alternative financing that you don't hear about every day. We've all been to probably 100 real estate seminars, but I can tell you firsthand from my best friend's experience, Steve Chapko. I've known him since I was 8 years old. He just facilitated a flip in West Philadelphia. I don't know if you saw the video, you probably did. But he put the down payment on a hard money loan with the guidance of MB Capital Solutions, leveraging his credit to ultimately fund his real estate deals, and we could all do it too. So I congratulate you all for taking the time today to tap into this webinar. It's going to be jam-packed, full of information. I encourage everybody to ask questions and definitely follow through with a consultation to see, exactly what MB Capital Solutions can do for your situation and your next real estate deal. So with that, in consideration of everybody's time, I want to hand it over to Eric and Nick for this session of our first webinar. Thanks, everybody. Let me know if you need anything.
All right, Josh, thank you.
Appreciate it, Josh. So everybody, thank you for, like Josh said, taking time out of your busy Tuesday to spend it with us for, about an hour, where we're going to educate you on how to leverage lines of credit in real estate investing. What we specialize in are unsecured business lines of credit and positioning real estate investors and business owners to have the capital necessary to take advantage of more opportunities. We thank Josh for the opportunity to talk to, his network, and I'm looking forward to educating you guys and showing you how we're going to be able to help you here moving forward. Whether you're a real estate investor who needs funds to go out there and do more deals, or if you're a real estate agent who's out there working with real estate investors, how we can get your clients more capital to go close more deals with you. So, there's definitely going to be a lot of value that we're going to provide, a lot of information. I mentioned it at the start, but, as we're going through the presentation, if you have questions, don't hesitate to shoot it into the chat box. As we go through, we want to incorporate some of your questions into some of the slides that we're going through. And at the end, we're going to make sure that we touch base and try to answer any questions that you guys have, as well as we're going to put a link towards the end of the presentation for you guys to follow the link to where you can learn a little bit more information about us, and schedule some time for us to create a custom game plan for you and review what options you may have. So with that, we're gonna kick it off here.
And guys, just so you know, I am Eric, and that's Nick. So as we're sitting here talking, and even afterwards, as we start to create value for you and your individual real estate businesses and your businesses, you'll have a face to a name.
So what we're going to go through today, we're going to tell you a little bit more about who MB Capital is. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about myself. Eric's going to tell you a little bit more about himself. We're going to go through a concept that we created called the Funding Toolbox. Funding Toolbox is an assembling of tools to be able to go out there and close more deals. We're going to talk about different ways that you go out there and leverage the lines of credit to be able to facilitate those deals. And like I mentioned at the end, we'll have a little bit of a Q&A and, provide some value for you guys tonight.
All right. So who's MB? So everyone, MB Capital Solutions was started about 11 years ago. It's a consulting business that I created after I started to understand the importance of leveraging that personal credit to get access to business capital. So I've been a real estate investor for about 18 years now. Bought my first property while I was going to Drexel University right in Philly. And about 6 years into investing, I learned about lines of credit and how to leverage business lines of credit. So out of that, MB was built about a year after I started using the lines of my business. And, we started coaching and advising small business owners, real estate investors. In 2009, we've helped over 1,700 clients at this point obtain over $60 million of unsecured funding. And really, we really want to help position you as the entrepreneur, as that business owner, that real estate investor, to not only get access today and get access to capital for short-term needs, but let's position your credit and let's start to build so that you're positioned for long-term success, so that as opportunities come up, you don't miss out on opportunities because of a lack of access to capital and credit. Our office is based right in Sewell, New Jersey, about 15-20 minutes east of Philadelphia. But we have the ability to help business owners and real estate investors nationwide. We have clients in Hawaii, California, Florida, you name it. There's definitely states, all the states in the U.S. that we've helped someone in.
Absolutely. Good overview of MB. My name is Nick DeFederico. I'm the lead funding strategist here at MB Capital Solutions. I would say, it was about 10 years ago that I was actually a client of MB Capital's. I was a small business owner in the jewelry business, needing working capital. And I was introduced to Eric, and Eric was able to put in place $100,000 in lines of credit for me that I was able to scale my retail jewelry business to open up multiple locations and, generate over 18 million a year in annual revenue. That was a cyclical business, being in the gold trade, silver trade, diamond trade. So while I was in that business, I started to invest in real estate. And I actually used the funds that Eric got me to, dabble in real estate investing. So as I started to wind down the jewelry business and focus more on the next step in my chapter, actually, I came back to Eric and said, much like you helped me position myself to take advantage of opportunities, I'd like to do it for others as well. We kind of partnered up. And now, like Eric mentioned, we help small business owners, real estate investors all across the country position themselves to not miss out on opportunities. I always say, as an entrepreneur, as a real estate investor, what we are by nature is an opportunist. So when you're not prepared to take advantage of opportunity, you're kind of screwed. So that's why, meeting with somebody like us to be able to help position you the right way, it's only going to be beneficial, not just short term, but long term as well.
Great. Thanks, Nick. As I started to share, I've been out there investing since 2002. And along the way, I've done some project engineering work right out of Drexel for about 10 years with DuPont. It really helped me to get better at managing a real estate project, which was nice. And like I had said, in 2009, created the business really to be able to help the small business owner and the real estate investor so that they could start to learn about this creative strategy, like Josh was saying, on how to use that personal credit to get access to business money. So rely on us as resources. I'm still an active real estate investor, focusing more on the buy and holds, and stepping my game up into a little bit larger multifamily projects. So hopefully what you'll start to see here is not only do we know the credit and capital side, but we're both business owners, we're entrepreneurs, we're real estate investors, and we love to help others, whether you're just starting out, get the ball rolling, or if you've been at it for 10, 15, 20 plus years, just to tweak and make you a little bit more efficient.
Yeah, and one of the things that definitely makes us stand out from a lot of the different lending companies is we practice what we preach. We're out there doing exactly what our clients are doing. So, we're a wealth of information, we're a wealth of resources. Even if we, can't point you in the right direction personally, we have the resource to help you get whatever it is that you're looking to do, get it done.
Great. So before we dive into exactly what unsecured funding is, what Nick and I wanted to do real quick was just share a couple of case studies of ours of clients that have been out there. They've used us, and just to give a sense, an overview to those on the call, because everyone's at a different level in terms of where they are in real estate investing. So we'll go through a couple examples of how we've helped, both the new investor as well as the experienced investor, so that you can start to think through how we might be able to create some value for you. So I'll get started with the new investor. I think Josh put together a video last night where he went and viewed Stephen Chapko's project. So if you haven't seen it, it was a short video testimonial on how we helped him. And brand new investor, really just wanted to get out of the gate and get into his first opportunity, and get the ball rolling. But he had he had some mentoring, so he knew what he wanted to do in real estate, but he didn't have the capital to be able to go out there and have the access, the down payment money, the working capital to pull off a real estate project. So where when we met Stephen, the real purpose was to help him get that down payment money, get get that working capital, the money for the holding costs along the way of the project. So brand new investor, had strong personal credit. We were able to leverage his personal credit to go get 50 to 100K under the business, brand new business, and really helped him get through his first deal. So that new investor that's out there on this call, we help the new investor all day, every day with that model, just to learn how to leverage properly.
Yeah. So, I mean, I hear it on a daily basis. New investor wants to get out there, do a deal. They talk to a hard money lender and they find out that they need, 10, 20% down payment on that deal. Hard money's great. Hard money's going to give you 80, 90% of the purchase price plus 100% of the rehab. But you still need that gap funding. You need that down payment money. You need that closing cost money. And people tend to get discouraged when they realize, I don't have enough capital for the down payment money and closing cost money. Not knowing that there are ways for us to leverage and be able to get you the down payment money to where you're essentially 100% funding the deal without using your own cash. So that brand new investor who's looking for a way to get in, there's a way. So, that's why we say that we're the strategist. We're going to figure out a way to make sure that we're getting you the capital so that you don't miss out on an opportunity.
Another example, this is more that investor who's been out there for a couple years investing. So let's call her Lisa. So we have Lisa, who is an investor now for a few years. She started off with that first project, and now she's doing 4 projects at a time. So Lisa, she has, because of her experience in the real estate world, she's built up a lot of different tools in her funding toolbox, from the hard money lenders to the private investors. And, now she's working on 4 projects at a time. So this particular scenario, there's a lot of costs associated with managing multiple projects at the same time. One project is there's monthly costs, whether you're paying the lenders, their interest only payments, you got to front some of the rehab from time to time. So, Lisa, as an experienced investor, never thought about leveraging her credit to go get access to business money. So this particular investor client we would help them obtain the $50,000 to $150,000 in business credit so that they can use it for just the monthly holding costs associated with managing multiple projects. The other good part about it is, because it's in the form of lines of credit, she now has the ability that if another opportunity comes along, because I will tell you from my own experience, if your goal is to do 4 deals in a year, 1 a quarter, I can almost guarantee you that it's not going to be 1 in the first quarter, 1 in the second quarter, 1 in the third quarter. Multiple opportunities seem to come at the same time. And if you're not positioned to take advantage of it, you can miss out on some nice opportunity just because of the lack of preparation. So for Lisa, by having that 50 to 150K of business credit, it allowed her not only to take care of the monthly cost, but then also be in a position, if she did need the down payment money for a 5th deal, she was ready and she didn't have to stop looking for opportunities. Anything else you want to share there, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, whether you're the new investor like we just talked about or the experienced investor, there's always a need for additional capital, right? So whether it's you have a lot of projects going on and you just need working capital to help facilitate your deals, you may be doing, 3, 4, 5 deals at a time, and you need lines of credit to be able to facilitate the down payment money, the rehab cost. Or if you're that investor that, is an experienced investor, but you're only doing 1, 2, 3 deals a year, what we could do is potentially get you access to your own permanent lines of credit so that your deals become more profitable. If you're not using 10 to 14% high interest hard money or private money and 2 to 3, 4 points per deal, and you're instead self-funding your deals through your own marketplace of banks and lenders because you've built up your own funds in your business name, then you're just more profitable on each and every deal. So you may only do 2 or 3, 4 deals a year, but you're actually making more profit than somebody that's leveraging high interest hard money and private money and doing 8, 9 deals a year.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. So we're going to dive into, into what unsecured funding is. I mean, real simply put, when unsecured funding is basically financing options that do not require collateral. So you're not putting up an asset. You're not putting up a house, a car, a piece of jewelry, any other asset that you can think of to obtain the funding. The bank will approve you based on the strength of your personal credit. They don't need any asset put up as collateral against their line of credit or against their loan. Perfect example is that personal credit card. Think of the personal credit card. If anyone out there has personal credit cards, which I'm sure you do.
We all do.
They basically looked at your personal credit, determined whether or not it was strong enough to approve, and you were approved based on credit alone, and it was just backed by a personal guarantee and not collateral. As it relates to how we're helping clients, so we're going to help clients across the board from the personal side through the business side, and what really determines that is how you're currently positioned. Everyone wants to come to us and sprint to the business money, right? Because it sounds awesome. Man, you can get access to 50, 100, 150K under that business, under that LLC, under that EIN, and not have any of it report to the personal. The starting point is the foundation. That personal credit is your foundation. So based on where you are personally, we would design a custom plan to determine what's the best model. Do we start on the personal? Is it a blend, or is it all business? And we would help coach and guide you with the right banks, and it may be a traditional bank, a credit union, a peer-to-peer lender, term loan lenders. It might be national banks. It may be those regional banks or those small local banks based on where you are in the country that we know will be willing to work with you as a business owner and as a real estate investor.
Yeah, what we've done a really good job of over the years is building a database of lenders. That's why we refer to us as the funding strategist. We're not the direct lender. We work with all those types of lenders nationwide. So we understand their products. And more than anything, because we're working with so many clients at a given time, for us, what we do on your behalf is monitor the trends of the lenders. We know on any given point what lender is pulling what credit bureau, how they're currently approving clients. Are they tightening up with lending? Are they lending freely? So that we can create a custom game plan to leverage your personal credit to maximize the funding that we get for you. And to touch base a little bit on what Eric's saying in terms of your personal credit is the foundation, it really is. And as we start to move forward and strategize on your behalf, we're going to keep the long-term play in mind. And what I mean by that is we're not just going to rush out the gate and try and get you all business funding if you're not in a position for it, if that's not right for you. We do right by our clients by making sure that, A, we're getting you the capital necessary to do the deals that you have the opportunity to take advantage of, but then also planning to do things the right way and keep your credit in a pristine position so that as you're using the capital, it's not impacting you and it's keeping you in a good position to always be able to acquire capital or get out of a bad situation or get another loan. So we really do strategize and customize a custom game plan for every client based on how their position and how their personal credit is that foundation.
Yeah, it's definitely a marathon versus a sprint. With this, real estate is for long-term wealth building. A lot of our clients are out there trying to build a portfolio. We want to be a part of that by teaching them how to treat your credit and financial life as a marathon and not just a sprint.
So now what this is the funding toolbox. And this is a concept that we created mostly out of talking to hundreds and thousands of clients at this point all across the country. Because what we've learned is there's many different tools to get our deals funded. And sometimes you need to use more than just one tool to get that deal funded. And more than anything, in talking to clients, typically, however they fund their first, second, third deal is how they think they have to fund all their deals moving forward. They fall in love with the same concept. And we try to educate them on the fact that there's many different concepts, there's many different tools so that you don't miss out on an opportunity. Because sometimes when you're leveraging one or two or three of the tools at once, you can't use the same tool on another deal. So you may have to get creative in using other tools. So I'm going to run down the funding toolbox in terms of the tools that we see clients use, explain it a little bit more in depth and how they, work together. So your residential commercial loan, a residential loan. So your traditional mortgage. I can't tell you how many clients, they get a traditional mortgage when they're closing on a rental property or an investment property. They'll get a 97% mortgage and they need that 3% down payment. Where we help them in a situation like that is getting them a line of credit for the 3% down payment plus closing costs. But then if they're fixing it up to flip it, they need rehab money. So they may need 20, 30, 40 grand to be able to add value to the property and be able to sell it for a profit. In that situation, they're using a residential mortgage and a line of credit. They're using two tools in their toolbox to get a deal done. Same thing with a commercial loan. Multifamily properties and mixed-use properties are all the rage right now. Eric mentioned it. He's trying to become more involved in, multifamilies. Everybody wants to acquire a 4-unit, 6-unit, and up. And a lot of times you need to get a specialty mortgage for that. You can't go to a traditional mortgage lender to acquire a traditional mortgage on a 6-unit property. So you need to use a commercial lender. The same thing, a commercial lender is only going to give you 80, 90% of the purchase price. And if you need to do rehab, you still need another tool in your toolbox to be able to facilitate the rehab portion of that deal.
And guys, in our local market here in New Jersey, Philly area, there are a number of really good small commercial banks that are willing to work with the smaller residential real estate investor, even on the single families and the 1 to 4 units. I've learned, I was fortunate enough to learn about those types of lenders at the same time that I started to learn about the business credit. And it really helped to catapult my ability to get into mortgages that didn't show up on the personal credit. It's a pretty powerful thing when the mortgages, those long-term commitments aren't piling up and showing up on that personal credit. Once again, it's all about that separating that personal and business credit properly.
Yeah, good point. Lines of credit, we're talking about it now. Lines of credit are a powerful tool. And there's different lines of credit. There's traditional lines of credit. There's streamlined lines of credit. There's a lot of different types of lines of credit in the marketplace. So whether you're a brand new business or an established business, you're going to have options. Leverage a line of credit. And what's great about the lines of credit that we're implementing for clients is they're permanent lines of credit. So use it on your deal, pay it back after you do a flip. It's sitting there ready to go for deal number 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 100, whatever you can do. As long as you're using it responsibly, the line of credit's not going to go anywhere. As you see there, 401k and IRA. Specifically, what I'm talking about there is more self-directed. I wouldn't tell you to go liquidate your 401k and take, taxes and penalties to be able to go do a deal, unless it was just a deal you couldn't pass up. But really what I'm talking about there is the self-directed model by taking a 401k or retirement funds that you have just sitting there and putting it into a self-directed account that you could then go use to invest in real estate, help you to private lend, help you to, invest in a property. There's specific rules with the self-directed IRA and a self-directed 401k that the funds got to go back into that account. But, it's definitely a tool in the toolbox to be able to use to not miss out on an opportunity. Hard money. Hard money is a great tool. What I love about hard money is that it's deal specific. It's not, necessarily credit specific, where a hard money lender is going to give you somewhere between 80 to 90% of the purchase price and 100% of the rehab funds. So if you get a deal where it's going to, cost you $100,000 to acquire it and $100,000 to fix it up, the hard money lender is going to give you $80,000, $90,000 of the purchase price and all the rehab funds. You just have to come up with that gap funding, that 10 to 20% down payment plus closing costs to get into that opportunity. And that's where the other tools can come into play to where you're essentially 100% funding the deal without using your own cash. Credit cards. Credit cards are an untapped, tool for real estate investors. I'll do presentations all the time and I'll ask who uses their credit cards to fund a deal. And people look at me like I'm crazy. because there are ways for you to use a credit card to actually take that, credit card limit and use as the down payment money to combine with a hard money lender and fund a deal, or to use the credit cards as the rehab funds. Or, I work with a lot of wholesalers in real estate, and they, with the wholesaler, you got to spend a lot of money on marketing, door-to-door mailers, bandit signs, helping build that buyer's list. So when you have a property to wholesale, that you can actually market that property. Leveraging it off of a credit card is a great way to do it. Front the cost, and then when you assign a property, flip a property, refinance a property, pay that credit card back down to zero and be able to do it again. A HELOC. If you have a primary residence that has equity built up in it, a HELOC is a great option. Now,
for those of you who are newer to investing or newer to real estate, a HELOC is nothing more than that home equity line of credit. Just a
home equity line of credit. Yep. So we have equity built up in our primary residence, or if we have multiple investment properties with equity built up, you can get a blanket HELOC across it. I prefer to use a HELOC last, but if you need access to funds and you have a HELOC ready to go, it's a great way to make sure that you're taking advantage of opportunities. Personal loans. Personal loans are more of a newer way to start to get deals funded. If you're a real estate investor who's doing real estate investing on the side, especially you're trying to get into your first few deals and you have W-2 income, you're actually ahead of the game than most real estate investors that can't provide, the documents to get a personal loan. So leverage it. You can go get your down payment money, your rehab costs, your acquisition funds by leveraging the fact that you have a W-2 job and decent personal credit to go get the funds necessary. Cash. Do I really have to go into talking about cash? Cash is king. I prefer to hoard cash though. Cash is the easiest thing to spend and the hardest thing to acquire. So if we can use more of these tools in our toolbox before we start to leverage our cash, we're going to be so far ahead of the game. Because most investors, they go the opposite way. They use cash first, and then they leverage credit cards. And then typically they come to us at a position where now we can't acquire the other tools in the toolbox because they may be over leveraged or credit may have taken a hit. So if you're newer, and even if you're experienced, we want to start to acquire these lines and these tools when we can, and then start to use them in the right order. Hoard cash, because when stuff goes wrong, you can always spend cash. But when things go wrong, you can't always acquire it. So the more we can use the other tools before we get to our cash, the better. Plus, cash is a safety blanket. It makes us feel good when we can see that we have cash in our bank account. Private money. There's all different types of private money. Private money can be a friend, a family member, somebody willing to give you the funds necessary and lend it at an interest rate where you can go do a deal and then pay them back after you finish and complete the property and see it all the way through. Private money is a great way to be able to fund deals when credit may be tough, but you have opportunities that pop up. So these are all good ways to be able to fund your deals. They're all ways that we see clients funding their deals on a daily basis. The more you have assembled them in your toolbox, the more opportunity you're going to be able to take advantage of. So why do we want lines of credit? Well, additional access to funds, float money. I hear it on a daily basis, and I can't tell you enough how much I hear it. People just need money to float their deals, whether it's, hey, I'm working on 3 or 4 deals right now and I have to service the hard money loan, or I'm using lines of credit and I need more access to pay the monthly fee. Whatever it may be, everybody needs more float money, more access to funds.
Yeah, how many times has an investor told us that, look, I was a little bit off on the rehab budget. I really need some excess access so that I can go, just front the extra $5,000 that I was off. Make sure that we can pay the contractors and keep them moving.
Yeah, I hear it every day. Gap funding, that down payment and closing cost money. Like we've mentioned, especially for a newer investor where you need to get into the game, and we have a hard money lender who's going to give you, most of the purchase and all the rehab funds. We need that down payment money, the closing costs, the holding cost money. Leverage the line of credit, essentially 100% funded deal without having to use our own cash. Efficiency, rehab funding and limiting hard money. And what I mean by that is, when we get a hard money loan and we're paying interest on the rehab funds, we're paying interest on the rehab funds. If we can assemble a line of credit that we don't have to take the rehab money from the hard money lender, well, that's 10 to 14% in interest that we don't have to pay in funds, in interest payments for the rehab funds. If we can self-fund it with our own money, then we're paying less money to the hard money lender. We're paying less money in terms of interest and holding costs, and our deals are just becoming a little bit more profitable. We're just being a little bit more efficient with our funding toolbox. Opportunity money, Eric was talking about this, a little bit ago. Typically, when we're in the middle of an opportunity keeps coming at us. I was working on a property a couple months ago over in Philly, and the neighbor came up and said, "Hey, I see that you bought the property and you're fixing it up. Do you want to buy my property?" Now, if I wasn't positioned with the funds necessary to also buy her property, I would have let another investor take advantage of that opportunity. So opportunity flocks to opportunity. So that's why we want to make sure that we're prepared for it.
I always think of, how many people on this webinar right now have lost a deal because they didn't have access? How many have lost the opportunity? So what's the cost of losing that deal? So that lost opportunity cost is a big factor, because one flip could be $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in profit. And if you're not positioned right, you miss it and could set you back, could throw you off in hitting your goals. So definitely, a lot of our clients are utilizing the lines of credit in conjunction with their cash to make sure that they have the reserves sitting there to be able to pull the trigger when the opportunity comes.
Yeah, great point. Unforeseen circumstances. Eric mentioned it a few minutes ago, rehab budgets go over. I had a client where they purchased a property and they did an oil tank sweep and they found an oil tank. But they stopped when they found the first oil tank. And while they were working on the property on a ground up construction, they found 2 other oil tanks and he had to come out of pocket to remove it because he'd already closed on the property and they were his oil tanks now. So unforeseen circumstances happen. So we always want to make sure that we're prepared for it. Marketing, mailers, bandit signs, advertisings, whether you're a wholesaler or you're looking to fix and flip, most of the successful fix and flip investors out there are doing their own marketing to find their own deals off market. It's harder and harder to find deals on the MLS right now. So the more that you can market and find your own deals, the better.
And guys, I see the questions over here. So keep the questions coming. Like Nick said, we will at the end of a couple more charts, we'll start to address the questions. Some good questions coming in.
Yeah. So real estate investor uses. It kind of looks like the chart before, but I always like to hammer it home a little bit. Gap funding, that 10 to 20% down payment that you may need to combine with a hard money lender to be able to get into a deal, leverage a line of credit. Rehab funds, front the rehab off of a line of credit, keep your deal moving. I can't tell you how many times while an investor is waiting for a hard money company to come out and inspect the project to release more hard money, to release more rehab funds, the contractor on the job, because there's no money that day, goes and starts working on another deal. Now that investor, once the inspection happens and hard money draw is released, has to go hunt down that contractor because he started to work on another deal. If you have access to capital, you can keep your jobs moving. 100% finance a deal. Whether you're combining the line of credit with a hard money lender, which would essentially be 100% funding a deal, or depending on your purchase price, if we're able to get you $50,000 to $100,000 on a line of credit, you may be able to 100% finance a deal just leveraging a line of credit. I'm buying properties in Philadelphia for somewhere between $50,000 to $75,000 and then putting $25,000 into it. I have access to more than $100,000 in lines of credit. So I'm 100% funding a deal. So my profit on the deal is a little bit more because I'm not using hard money or private money. But, having access allows you to 100% fund a deal. Holding costs. You have holding costs when you're doing a deal, whether it's your monthly mortgage payment to the hard money lender, servicing your lines of credit. You have a line of credit that you can tap into. You can essentially pay the line of credit back while you're doing the deal until you flip the property, refinance the property, or wholesale the property. So it's a way for you to have the holding cost money to make sure that, you know, you're taking care of all your obligations.
And we definitely, we coach our clients on setting aside a portion of what we get them for the holding costs. There's going to be holding costs along the way. I mean, you want electric and you need gas as projects are going. You need to heat the place. You need to keep the lights on. All of that is additional cost that, you know, especially some newer investors, they don't really take that all into consideration throughout the project.
Yep. Emergency funds, like we talked about, working capital in general. You know, stuff pops up, you know, you need new equipment, you need marketing costs, you need stuff, you know, when we're working on deals, stuff pops up. So just having working capital in general to help float you and keep your deals moving, keep your projects moving, it's crucial to being able to stay in this business long term. Private lending the money. This is a little bit of an alternative, but I'll have clients that, you know, they can't get into a deal for whatever reason. They either can't find a deal, they're not good at finding a deal, or they just don't want to go through the process of going through a whole deal. But we'll get them a line of credit for $100, $150, $200,000. And then what they do is they private lend it to other investors who are out there finding deals but need capital. So we can actually get you money that you're actually going to go lend to somebody else, not ever touch a piece of real estate, but still get a return on the money that we're getting for you.
Yeah, I spoke to somebody today, 30 years old. He's trying to get into investing, and he was looking at whether he should, you know, build up some lines of credit and some access so that he can private lend and actually benefit from private lending to someone with more experience, and, you know, get mentored by that more experienced investor. So, you know, it's one of his options. The other thing he was looking at is using the Burr model to go do more deals. But I think from a private lending standpoint, you can leverage it. If you have good credit and maybe you don't have the experience, leverage that good credit to go get some access, lend it to that more experienced investor. There's nothing better than learning from someone with experience. It will help you streamline the mistakes along the way. You're still going to make mistakes for sure, but if you can work with someone who knows how to handle some of those mistakes or can help you avoid those mistakes, it's a nice way to learn and be mentored on money that you're making money on.
All right. So this link we're actually going to put into the comments. Now, when you go to this link, what you're going to see is, and it's an explainer video. It tells you exactly how we work with clients. Watch the video. It's a good 2 minutes and 30 seconds, giving a general overview on how we help clients. After you watch the video, at the bottom, there's a link that says Get Pre-Qualified. Click the Pre-Qualified button. It asks for a little bit of basic information, name, phone number, contact, email. Complete that. Once you complete that and hit submit, we'll get your information, and what we can do is set up a time for us to review your file, review your set of circumstances, and see how we can help you exactly. When you complete the contact information form, you'll be taken to another page that says do a soft pull of credit. For us to be able to see exactly how we can help you, how you're positioned currently, and give you a custom game plan on what you need to do to move forward and be able to acquire these lines of credit, we suggest that you complete a soft pull of credit. Now, the soft pull of credit is not going to have any impact on your personal credit score. It's not going to show up as an inquiry. Nobody's even going to see that you do a soft pull of credit. But what it's going to do is give us the credit data on how you're currently positioned so that we can have a productive initial conversation to show you exactly how much capital can we go get for you and give you a custom game plan based on how you're currently positioned. For everybody on this webinar and for everybody that is associated with Real Producers, we're going to walk you through step by step and have that custom consultation. No fees. There's no obligation to do anything. But if you're interested in real estate investing, if you're interested in building up working capital, lines of credit in the business name, follow this link, click the Get Pre-Qualified button, shoot us over some of your information. After we get that back, our assistant will reach out to you and get you scheduled on either Eric's calendar or my calendar so that we can walk you through step by step exactly how we can help you specifically.
Yeah, and one thing that I'll follow up with that is, there's not everybody's ready to go from a credit perspective the day we meet them. So we will coach and guide you there and put together, some strategies. Sometimes they're very creative. Sometimes it's pretty straightforward on how to get you from where you are from a credit perspective today into funding, whether it's 30 days later, 90 days later. But we'll put you on the right path to making that happen.
Questions about business credit and lines of credit. So we have some good questions in the chat box. One of the things I want to point out before I start answering some of the questions is that there's a big difference between building business credit and building access to cash inside your business. What we focus on is building access to cash inside your business. There's a lot of companies out there that help you build business credit, which is great. We focus mostly on cash access lines of credit, where having a paydex score and a DMB score, and some of these terms may sound foreign to you, is great, but it's not necessary for what we do. If you have, decent personal credit and an entity that's at least a day old, we're going to be able to help you get funding. So, what we're going to do now is make sure that we're touching base on some of the questions that you guys asked and giving you value around that before we start to wrap up here in a few minutes.
Nice. So I'm going to start actually at the bottom because I think it's an important question. The question is it possible to get a line of credit that's not tied to a property? That's all that we do. Yep. So that's the unsecured piece.
Unsecured lines of credit.
Nope.
So what we do is on a daily basis, we get you a line of credit where we don't need collateral. As long as you have good personal credit, we're going to be able to get you access to a line of credit that you can use for any general working capital purpose. So it's not a HELOC. It's not attached to anything. It's in the business name. Use it for whatever you need to. But yes, you can absolutely obtain a line of credit without a property, without attaching an asset to it, and sometimes even without providing financial docs. Most of our lenders, we're not going to need, substantial tax returns or financial statements or bank statements. It's personal credit. And it's, age of business is really what matters the most.
Yeah, less than 5% of our lenders ask for tax returns. Next question or comment was, I heard you need like 15 or more business accounts before you can get to $50,000 to $150,000 in lines of credit.
And there is a lot of misinformation out there. And a lot of that is the business credit building courses that are offered out there. You'll be told, yeah, I need to build up a certain amount of net 30, 60, 90-day accounts to be able to then go get a $50,000 line of credit. And that's just simply not true. In working with us, we've already done the legwork of knowing what lenders are going to be able to lend to you based off of just the strength of your personal credit file. If you're trying to get non-recourse or, certain types of business lines of credit, yeah, it's great to have a lot of business accounts, but it's not necessary, especially for us as real estate investors and business owners. We want the access to the cash. We don't have time to spend, 6 to 12 months building up Staples accounts or, Citgo gas cards. Those are great to have on our file, but we can't use those to go purchase a piece of real estate. So, yeah, there are some courses out there that teach you that that's what you have to do, but it's not necessarily the truth. If you have good personal credit, we're going to be able to get you access to that $50,000 to $150,000 through lines of credit.
So Jamil had mentioned that he's been investing since 2007, but his business formation as an LLC is only a few months shy. So it's a few months shy of 2 years. Am I eligible for funding?
Yes. So
as long as you have a business that's a day old, like Nick had said a few minutes ago, we can help you get access to funding. What will determine the type of funding is the age of the business. So certain lenders will give certain products between 0 to 24 months for a business. And then at the 24-month mark, other banks start to open up different types of lines of credit. But yeah, we can absolutely help the brand new investor the business that's just shy of 2 years, the business that's 10, 15, 20 years old.
Yeah, and that's why we say working with us, we're not just one and done in terms of we get you a line of credit and then we're done working with you. If the goal is to assemble, and start to self-fund deals, we're going to work with you long term so that we can get you money now. But then as your business starts to age and you hit that 1 year mark and 2 year mark and 3 year mark and 4 year mark, it's like additional doors start to open up for you. So there's always going to be new lenders and new opportunities to acquire more capital. So working with us, we're going to be able to make sure that we're positioning you not just for a short term, but long term as well, knowing that we're always going to be able to acquire more capital for you down the line.
Will, love the question. Does your LLC name have an effect if you qualify on funding? For example, putting the words property or investment group into the LLC name. So if we meet
Great
you
question.
before you set up the LLC, I'm going to coach and guide you not to put, keywords in the name of the LLC. However, I have a business, Mawes Property Holdings. I have plenty of access through Mawes Property Holdings, even though the word property is in there, my last name is in there. So did it affect the approval amounts? Possibly. Would I recommend setting up your LLC with different words in there? Yeah, absolutely. If you can use the words consulting, enterprises, ventures, management, something more generic is better than, 123 Main Street LLC or real estate investments 123.
XYZ home flippers.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, the more generic you can be, the better it's going to be in terms of applying for capital.
Yeah, it makes your life easier over the long run as well. With an unfavorable credit score, is it realistic to think that I can even start investing this year?
It is very realistic. There's definitely options. That question on its surface, the answer is yes. It is definitely, realistic to think that. As we dive in further, it just means that we may have to get a little bit more strategic depending on why your score is unfavorable. Do we have a lot of late payments, a lot of derogatory information? In a situation like that, we're going to coach you on getting credit repair and being able to get yourself in a position. But then also, if you have a business set up, a lot of times what we can do, and we do it a lot with clients who are credit challenged, but they may have a partner, a wife, a spouse, a family member with better credit, we can do partner loans where we can get a line of credit leveraging somebody's good personal credit that, isn't necessarily attached to the business. So there's always options for us to be able to get strategic and being able to acquire capital. Sometimes we just have to think outside the box a little bit. So what I'll say to you is it is definitely realistic for you to invest in real estate with an unfavorable credit score. I have a client right now who is in bankruptcy. His credit's in the 400s. He's doing 6 deals this year. And it's because he's leveraging private money, hard money. He's out there finding deals and he can still get deals done. Sometimes you just got to get a little bit more creative.
Joel asks, can you provide funding for real estate investment flip properties to an independent insurance broker?
So yes, absolutely. It's funny. We're working with a couple different insurance brokers right now who also invest in real estate on the side. So I don't necessarily know if I'm answering the question, directly, but it doesn't matter if you're working in a different business, if you have another type of, company and you want to invest in real estate, there's definitely ways to get you access to the capital necessary to go take advantage of, real estate. What I'll say is most real estate investors are working in another profession as well. Whether you're an insurance broker, I'm working with a pediatrician who wants to do 6 flips this year. We're working with every walk of life that also invests in real estate. So it doesn't matter what you do from a day-to-day basis. If you're looking to invest in real estate, definitely get in touch with us. We can start to point you in the right direction.
I apologize, J-Buck, you mentioned something about the cost for services a while back. And then Nestor, you brought it up again. What kind of fees are associated with getting these lines of credit in place?
So what we charge for our services is what's called a success fee. So it's a one-time fee based on the total approval amount that we get funded for you. So depending on the exact type of line of credit, it could be anywhere from 5 to 9% one-time charge for permanent funding. And I always like to point that out because our fee is for permanent funding. So, on the high end, say, let's use round numbers and say we charge 10%. If we get you $100,000 and we charge you 10% one-time fee for a permanent $100,000, but you go use that funds to go do a flip where you made $60,000, $70,000, is it worth it? The answer obviously is going to be yes, but more importantly, you still have access to the $100,000 to go do deal number 2 and 3 and 4. So the more times you can actually use the funds and turn it over, the cost of acquisition becomes less and less each time, because you don't pay us on each and every time that you use the funds. You pay us on implementing the lines of credit for you, the one-time fee. So the more times you use it, the cost of acquisition becomes less and less. And included in our fee is we're a full concierge service. So there's no upfront fees. So to get a custom game plan, you're not getting charged anything. We're also handling applications and working directly with the lenders and underwriters. So we handle the process from start to finish, and not just the acquisition, but we're going to show you on how to use the lines, how to use the funds to be able to go do deals. And we're here as a resource, whether you need an introduction to a hard money lender, or in the case like Steven Chapko, Steven, we got him the lines of credit, but then I also introduced him to the hard money lender. And now that he's going to have that property rented out in the next few weeks, we're also going to introduce him to a long-term rental loan. So he's actually going to refinance that property, pay off his line of credit, pay off the hard money lender, and be able to have a tenant in that property paying his mortgage for him. So he's actually going to have no money into that property. He's going to collect a rent check every month, and he got all his initial funds back to go buy property number 2. So there's a lot of other value that we add in terms of being able to help you do your deals moving forward.
What other questions are out there? I know we're at the 7 o'clock mark. Is there anything that we had missed here? Michelle, looking forward. It sounds like you had early on said that's me. I think you were talking about was through some of the
doing
case
multiple
studies.
deals.
Yeah. Welcome. Any other questions from the group? Josh, you got anything for us? Let me unmute you here.
I just wanted to thank you guys and thank all the participants tonight, and just chime in to say, investing in real estate, having the backing of MB Capital Solutions is like get caught in the rain without an umbrella. You don't want to wait until it's too late. You don't want to wait until it's pouring, or like Nick said, there's an opportunity on the table and you can't take advantage of it. Take advantage of this opportunity today. Talk with MB Capital Solutions, see what they can do for you, and then this way, when the opportunity arises or an unforeseen circumstance arises during your transaction, you'll have some backing. You'll be able to sleep better at night, and ultimately be able to scale your business, not just have a one and done type of deal. These guys are in it for the long run. It's not just the initial flip, like they said. They're going to set you up for, unlimited wealth and success through real estate. And it's not just through the lines of credit, it's through their expertise and all their knowledge. So thank you, Nick and Eric. I really appreciate it. And, looking forward to continuing to spread the word about this, because like I said, it's not something you hear about every day. And anybody needs anything, I wouldn't steer you any wrong way. So just hit me up, anything you need along the way. All the participants, thank you very much. And thank you, MB Capital.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.